That's right, guys. You asked for it. Bystial, Monarchs, whether it be extra deck, whether it be domain, both versions, rather decent. Just a template. We're going to talk about it. Let's get into it. Knights with Ishizu Infernoids with Amor Factor, Drytron, so many other things to talk about, so much to get to, so little time to get to it. I wanted to cover quickly. Bystials, whether it be the Monarch version where it's just domain, or it's the extra deck Monarch version, I definitely had to talk about this deck just because it's really fun to play still. You know, it's fun just locking people out of being able to play as fast as possible. And you know, Majesty's Fiend is a really powerful card. So with that being said, let's just get into it. I'm playing a triple Adchamafrophrite. Yeah, I never know how to pronounce his name, but all I know is he's Upstart Goblin, guys. If you have no cards in your extra deck except him, you can destroy this card, then draw one card, and then obviously if he's in the extra deck, you special summon him back out as tribute fodder, basically meaning he's meant almost specifically for Monarchs, because then he banishes himself when he leaves the field, which is also perfect for the deck because he gets himself completely out of the way. And he's light, he's a spellcaster, randomly can be 1800 to the head if you ever need to go for game. So just all around good card. Next card I wanted to talk about is the Bystials. The Bystials are both tribute fodder on empty boards, as well as just powerful beaters going second, as well as a counter to what the meta is. So I feel like it's good on 3 levels, and that's why I feel like it's necessary to play them. Whether you're playing them in the extra deck version, which I'll show in a second, or you're playing them in this version just as tribute fodder, regardless of that, and on top of that having Fenrir as well as empty board fighters, I guess. Whether you're going first, just special summoning out Fenrir, bringing out some of the Bystials off of some of the other plays that you can do off of the Monarch stuff, or just setting up anything basically means that you're going to have a bevy of plays to follow it up, especially if you open up the Bystial Lubellion to get to these two, which is really powerful. And if they're playing any kind of counter or any kind of meta and you can counter them hard, it's just they're in a bad spot. Triple Ether is Ether. The combination of her and Stormforth is still just simply too good to not play. I definitely feel like there's a few things that could be tweaked to get this down to 40 before I continue on. I feel like Return is a good card, but it's not necessary like that. Maybe cut one of the Majesty's Fiends, but I feel like I always want to see this card in the meta like this. So I feel like maybe Escalation, maybe Monarchs Erupt, but I feel like being able to search them either way and not want to make it the main theme, because Monarchs Erupt is very searchable in this deck. I just feel like all of this combined is just a good solid starting point, guys. And with that, I'm playing double Erebus. I don't like 3 because it always felt bricky. Even 7-8 years ago it was bricky to me, so I've always kind of played 2. But that's just my opinion. The Fenrirs to both be spot removal, good going second cards, flying Pankratops, as well as just tribute fodder. This is why I'm not playing Edie and Eidos in this version, just because there's so many cards that can spam themselves out and count as monsters that you can tribute for your monsters in your hand, like Ether, the Heavenly Monarch, Erebus, Fenrir, and etc. Now, obviously in this version, I can play Kuraz as well. I find in this version, Kuraz is a level 6, and in the extra deck Monarch version, which you'll see in a second, it can also be a combo piece. And it can just pop more stuff, I guess, because you'll have more leftover cards. And I definitely feel like there's some floodgates that you may want to mix in this deck as well. But as far as the straight away version that I'm playing, it's just getting 2 monsters on the board and then setting up, having a Majesty's Fiend and a Vanity's Fiend, and then setting up one of these cards behind it. Not the most powerful version, and obviously I feel like the branded with Surinir, and then being able to search one of the branded cards, I like Inevitable as a selection, but I don't feel like it's quite good enough. I feel like you probably don't even need these cards anymore. When Mystic Mind disappeared out of the meta, it kind of took out the need for these, so I would instead go for a card like Unexplored Winds, just because it's just good to have, and I'm pretty sure there's a Go Second version that you could come up with. Getting into the more fun version, which I find absolutely insane, and shout out to KcCard Ogre, I put it in the video last week. It can very easily slip into this deck to have some fun as well. If you don't like the Dogmatica stuff, you can slip in like KcCard stuff into this one, and then have ogres, because ogres are 28, and let me go ahead and show that off for you. It's 28 and 1,000 as well, so it obviously would be more searchable with tenacity. And you can also play this in the other version as well. Just wanted to mention that before I continue on. You could play like double Fenrir and cast Tier Ogre in that version. As far as the extra deck Monarch version, a lot of the cool plays, just to touch on the cool plays really quickly, Branded Fusion is in the deck simply because the setup and the whole game plan for this deck, I don't need to show combos, guys, is to end on Vanity's Fiend sitting next to a Mirror Jade. And most of the time against most decks, if you have anything else behind that, it could be like the Stormforth Ether, or it could be the Schism, or it could be both of them, or a Dogmatic of Punishment in this version. Any kind of setup, or any kind of setup where you get to Zaborg them, and against certain decks, it's almost certainly games. It can be game against tier. A deck like Sky Striker is death as soon as that lands. I feel like all of these are just really, really solid targets. And then additionally, Zaborg, if you wanted to tweak it out and you wanted to play Arclight and some stuff like that, you would easily set up Bystial stuff. So like the Zaborg is really, really advanced inside of a deck that can also play the Bystial stuff, because then Bystials are level 6s for the most part. You can play some rank 8 somewhere in here. I'm playing Mirror Logic for the Ultimate Slayer that you see down here. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but it's for a reason, because it's a lot going on. But literally, I just wanted to get to specifically what the game plan is, guys, is Mirror Jade, Vanity's Fiend, and something else. If you have anything else, I'm pretty sure it's almost all of the time game. I will have some gameplay videos over this deck as well if you need to see them. And also just continuing on with the deck, triple Ether, double Erebus. Again, that's just the ratio that I play, and it's a little bit easier in a smaller tribute package because you don't want to brick on them. But you are playing Edie and Eidos, which is kind of interesting. They're not good cards anymore. You noticed in the other version I wasn't playing this. They're not good cards anymore. They just get impermed. They get stopped way too easily. They get stopped by almost everything. And then if you normal summon that and that was your whole play, you just need better cards than that. That's why the Bystials themselves are tribute fodder. That's why the Kashtira stuff has power crept that. But it still is such a powerful play if you can Branded Fusion and dump this to be able to kick back one of the Monarch cards into your hand. It's just something that I would consider as well. Albaz is a frustrating card in this deck because you never want to draw it, or you're just way behind and kind of screwed. So I sometimes want to play two, as well as a card like Allure of Darkness. But you know, then your cards are getting kind of just wonky. But Allure is such a good card, and there's so many targets that I kind of go back and forth between playing it and not. As far as some of the other cards, I feel like everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. Ecclesia and Fleur de Lis, or Ecclesia into the trap card, or dumping the Titaniclad in some kind of way to get you to, you're gonna get somewhere strong rather quickly. And it really is up to you whether you want to play the Karaz and stuff like that to go along with the Bystials that are also level 6s, to play stuff like Wallow, stuff like Beatrice, to be able to dump further, go more into your deck, get more pluses off of some of these cards. Dump a certain pantheism in a certain situation. It's totally up to you. I'm not playing any Appaloosa. I feel like that costs too much most of the time, and Masquerade can just help you jump from that into this with some of your opponent's cards and yours. You know, you're gonna be good. Sometimes you just don't need to play, like you don't need access code talker. I don't think it's always nice to have, but you definitely have a lot of different options. Getting as far as you have to be careful playing around these cards. I always got to say this: be careful with Nadir Servant and Stormforth. Remember, you get locked out of the extra deck if you touch these cards, so make sure that your setups are complete. You got to go with what your hand is and then just kind of go from there. Additionally, want to mention Thestalos. In both versions, I play him and tribute for him going first, just to be able to look into people's hands is kind of nutty, like it always has been. And sometimes people aren't playing hand traps right now like that. And if they are, you know, sometimes they probably would have stopped you by then, but you know, it remains to be seen. I feel like you'd have to play cards like Dark Ruler evenly. Ultimate Slayer is a great card for this deck, just because you're already playing targets that are already going to do something. So therefore, you would want to maybe continue on and consider cards like Arclight to get a card like Cerevis in case you do read that people are playing Imperms and Veilers and targeting stuff. and you have something like a Vanity's Fiend or a Mirror Jade, and you can stop them from targeting, you can stop them from imperming one of them, then they're gonna pretty much lose. The last cards in the deck are obviously funny, interesting cards. This is just getting cute. Obviously, if you can remember, the Ether can special this out. Just have it out on the field, and anytime Ether could land, maybe you Stormforth and Ether combo them. That's the tried and true method that you've always had. Specialing out Arises is always a smooth way to a Featherstorm, and I always condone playing this card if you can. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. The captain is out. Arrivederci. Ciao.